Last Sunday was Candlemas, which marks the end of the extended Christmas period. So all the way from Christmas Day until the first Sunday in February is, in the church calendar, Christmas. But now we have finished that and we are in a very short in-between period of ordinary time before Lent begins in a couple of weeks. And the theme that has come out of all the readings for this Sunday is that of creation, of the world that God has made, of the earth, of creatures great and small, of earth and soil and human beings. So what we're thinking about today is creativeness, the created world, ourselves as created beings, as part of the created universe that God made. One of the readings for today is the last portion of Psalm 104, and the psalmist is so enthusiastic about the wonder of creation. He talks about all the things that he sees around him that are just incredible, the ocean and the creatures and the land, and he says, basically, God, this is really incredible, and I hope that when you look at it, you think it's incredible too, because it's blowing my mind. So the psalmist is encouraging us as well, I think, to try to see with those eyes of wonder, to look around us and really notice the world we live in. How many times do we go out for a walk and maybe not take anything in? I think that sort of noticing, that being aware of what is around us, is something that we can practice like a habit, like a skill. We can train ourselves to see, to really see, with eyes that are open to the beauty and wonder of creation. And now that we are in the month of February, we have that sense of spring being on the horizon. The snowdrops are out in bloom and there are buds of crocuses and daffodils starting to poke up through the soil. So we can sense that the deepest part of winter is being left behind, and we have this sense of expectation and of hope as we wait for creation to burst into the explosive beauty of springtime, where we're particularly aware of how wonderful and beautiful that so much of the world is. Spring is sort of when the world hits us in the face with how amazing it is, and we're forced to take notice. So I think it's very apt that we have the reading from Psalm 104 at this point in the year. It sort of prepares us to be aware of what's coming, to keep an eye out for the beauty of creation that is going to be everywhere around us in the next few weeks. And when we think about creation and about God as the creator, I wonder if you ever make the connection of an artist putting something of themselves into their work. So if we think about a painter or a sculptor, a dancer, pretty much any artistic medium that you can think of, the creator of that art will tend to put something of themselves, something of their own desires, emotions, experiences into what they create. I think that's partly why art is so powerful, because it allows us to glimpse something of another human being. But I think that sense of the creator putting something of themselves into their work, I think that's true of God as well. So I think when we look around at the world, when we see spring starting to break out and we see all the flowers burst into bloom and we think, wow, that's amazing, I think we're seeing a glimpse of God that God put into creation. And what's more, that's the same for us too as human beings. We are part of that creation, and so when we look at another person, when we see that something in them, that spark, that amazingness of being a person, that is us seeing God in creation, in each other. Human beings are incredible. And it doesn't matter who you are or what you do or how insignificant you might think you are not insignificant. You are amazing because you are part of God's creation. You and me and every other person in the world is incredible. We have this imprint of God upon us, like his breath given to us is an imprint of his hand, the artist marking his creation with that divine spark. All people have that within them, and that's why people are precious. Now, here in the UK, we've recently passed the terrible milestone of 100,000 people having died from the virus. And as we think about that, it's an opportunity to reflect on that preciousness of human life. Why is it that the death of somebody who we've never known, never met, why is it that the deaths of 100,000 people is such a terrible thing? Why does death unnerve us so much? Why is it such a loss? And I think the answer is connected to that spark of created divinity, because every human being we know is special, is precious, and the loss of even just one, it tugs at something in our own soul. And of course, as Christians, we know that death is not the end. We have that wonderful hope. We have the hope of the resurrection and of being with God for eternity. But we still find death really difficult. We still find it incredibly sad, and it's still a loss. And I think part of the reason that we do still find it hard, despite having hope, is that created miracle of another person is no longer with us in relationship. So it's a loss, and it is an ending for us as we're still here experiencing the journey of life. But I think the fact that we find it so hard is something to reflect on and to remind ourselves that death is a loss because of how precious a human is. It shows us that nobody is insignificant. Every single one of those 100,000 people was infinitely precious to God, to their creator, to the one who put his imprint of the artist's mark on their heart, that spark of the spirit that made them who they were. Each one of them God loved so much and still does, and I believe that God welcomes each and every one of them into his loving arms. So we as people are part of the wonder of creation. And in the Bible, Jesus says, God cares even about something as small and overlooked as a sparrow. We take birds for granted a lot of the time. They're just there. Or maybe something like a beetle walking on the ground. We don't think anything of it. But to God, that creature, that bird, that beetle is precious. And if that's the case, then how much more precious are people? How much more must God care about every person, no matter who they are, no matter how insignificant they may feel in the grand scheme of things? They are precious. You are precious. And that, I think, is something really beautiful that we can hold on to. So I think as we kind of tie all of these ideas together, as we think about creation and all the breadth that means, we need to hold on to and remember that we are part of it. And not only are we a part of it, but we are the most precious part of it. That no human being is overlooked by God. That we are all full of the spark of the Creator. That God is like an artist who has lovingly tended to everything that is made. And the act of creation isn't something that just happened once and then was done. It's continually happening. Every single new creature, new mouse, new sparrow, new bird in the sky, every new human being, it's all an ongoing act of creation. God is constantly forming the world, constantly pouring God's self into it as an artist, creating their work. So as we go into spring, as the evenings get lighter, the days get longer, and we see the beauty of the world unfolding around us, I hope and pray that we can remember our part in it, and that we have eyes to see, like the psalmist, the amazingness of the world, that we see God in everything around us. So look out for those signs of spring. Maybe go for a walk, see how many buds of flowers and new leaves you can see, or how many birds you can hear chirruping. Look for the signs of the beauty of creation. Put on that enthusiasm of the psalmist who saw the world and thought, this is amazing. And carry with you that knowledge that as part of creation, you are infinitely precious.